What books are worth the hype? Stay tuned and find out. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zacks Books, and today I've got popular books that are worth the hype. So these are books that a lot of people talk about that are typically the book, if it's like really talked about, sometimes it's either like really popular or like just that person likes it and it's actually not that good. This video is me pretty much stating like these books are worth the hype and you should check them out. We will have these 6 of these linked down below because all 6 are available. And I'm not only basing it off of my opinion, I'm also kind of going off of the Goodreads star ratings, like the average. Everything is above 4.0 something, so that's helpful. And as always, don't forget to check out the podcast, check out Bookstagram, we got all that fun stuff, and let's get into these 6 books. Alright, the first one up is going to be Bird Box by Josh Malerman. This has got an average rating of 4.03 with about 160-something thousand votes or something like that, give or take a couple thousand. So the premise is you're pretty much blindfolded in a sense. So you can't see these creatures, so they pretty much make you kill yourself. Or the entity like takes over the person. It's a really like twisty book, and I think it's actually pretty solid. There is a sequel called Mallory, not as good, but still another good one I would look at. I give that one 4 stars. But this was a 5-star book, phenomenal book. So I would definitely check this one out. Bird Box by Josh Malerman. Next up is a thriller book, and that is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. So, the problem I always run into with thriller books. But first, the star rating is an average of 4.15 with a little under 1 million votes, which is pretty iconic. The problem I always run into with thriller books is I can't say much about them, otherwise it would spoil the book. Pretty much you're following this woman who is a mute. She's like choosing not to speak. Her doctor is like really pushing for her to talk. She's really not wanting to. She saw some weird like murder happen. She's accused of being the murderer of what took place. I think it was her husband or her boyfriend or something like that. Gets murdered. She's accused, but like there's lots of twists. I like literally can't say more than that, otherwise I pretty much would spoil the book. The twist, definitely did not see it coming whatsoever. This book was just, it was really good. I need to reread it. By the way, all of these are 5-star books for me, in case you're wondering. Obviously I'm giving like the average rating, but for all these, they're all 5-star books. So, but yes, there you have The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. Alright, next up is my first Stephen King book out of 2, and that is It. So this has got a rating of 4.25. It's got a little under 1 million votes. I picked this one over Pet Sematary because it is just... Pet Sematary to me is still my second all-time favorite King book. I need to reread this. Obviously, there's a whole lot going on with this. But ultimately, I feel like this would end up being my second all-time favorite King book once I reread it. Whole different backstory. Doesn't matter. Different video. This is about this. So, this is a book about 7 kids in the town of Derry, Maine, because obviously it's Stephen King. It's a very thick book. It's a little under 1,200 pages, or a little over 1,100, whatever. And they're all the town is being terrorized by this entity known as Pennywise, or It. It's got many different forms. This thing takes the shape of your greatest fear. In the book, it can be like a horde of locusts, it's Frankenstein, it's a wolfman, Dracula, a zombie, a leper. Turns into whatever it wants that is that child's fear, because it feeds on fear. And it lives under the town in a sewer system. It's a very, very large book. You get 2 different timelines. You get when they're kids, then you get a couple mixed in times from when they're kids to being adults, and then adults. But the 2 big ones are when they're kids and adults. But it's such a good book. I need to reread this because it's just so good. So definitely 5 stars. Then you have It by Stephen King. All right, next up is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book, it's got an average rating of 4.53, about 240,000 reviews. This book came out last year, and it's already at that high of a rating. Now, I will say over time that rating will probably go down a little bit, but my God, this book took me by surprise. I feel like it took a lot of people by surprise. It's just so good. So you're following this astronaut, Ryland, as he's the sole survivor on his spaceship, which was sent to the sun. I believe it was to the sun to, like, do... I'm not really good with science stuff. To do some scientific thing because something's going on with Earth. People are dying. Some weird thing is going on. It's some really scientific thing, and I can't think about it. I can't think of it. But he has to go and, like, fix something with, like, molecules somewhere. And he's the only survivor on his ship. I think there's 2 other people. But he doesn't remember who he is. He doesn't remember why he's doing what he's doing. And nothing on the ship is really helping him. And along the way, I can't spoil anything. But he, literally meets, my all-time most iconic favorite character in a book. Literally almost my all-time favorite character. So, and it's also got one of the most, heartfelt endings, I think, of, all time. It's just, it's heartwarming. It's a heartwarming book. And I definitely think it's worth it. It's, I don't really read sci-fi, but, my goodness, this book, tugs on the heartstrings. So I would definitely read this. It's definitely 1,000 billion% worth it. So there you have Project Hail Mary. All right, the next book is probably going to be the most brief book I talk about here. Which, I'm going to try, but I really can't say much about it. And that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. All right, on to the next book. No. But yes, this has got a 4.1 rating out of 2,600,000 and almost 50,000 votes or reviews. I don't know why I keep saying votes, but that is a astronomically high number. This book is very well worth it. If you have not read this book, or if you have not seen this movie, what are you doing? I mean, and I can't really say that because I waited very long to read this, and so did Danielle. But I mean, just to describe the plot of this book, I could say maybe 5 words. Don't count, because it's going to be more than 5. But it's about this guy named Nick Dunn, and one morning it's his 5th anniversary with his wife, Amy Dunn, and pretty much what happens is he's wakes up, has breakfast with her, he goes to the bar, which he co-owns with his sister, and he returns home to a crime scene, and his wife is not there. And pretty much you're following his story of just being ferociously accused of not only pretty much murdering her, because there's no, body. They can't find a body. But there's blood in the crime scene. And, the police are just, all over him. And that's quite literally all I could say about this book. Yeah, it's so good. It's so well worth it. Danielle and I are going to be doing a podcast on this book. And the first part, we're going to try and keep spoiler-free, but it's kind of hard to do that. So, but yes, stay tuned for the podcast episode of Gone Girl with Danielle and I, because we're going to deep dive into this thing. So, there you have Gone Girl. All right, last one is a Stephen King book, because duh, and it is The Shining, because duh. So this book, it's got a 4.25 overall rating based off of 1.3 million reviews. Which is actually kind of low, in my opinion. I feel like it should be a little higher, but whatever. Yes, this book, I mean, this book is just the greatest book of all time, in my opinion. I mean, these top 3 that I talked about, Project Hail Mary, Gone Girl, and The Shining, if I had to make a actually, you know what, maybe that's a video idea. So I'm just going to shut up and not going to keep talking with what I was about to say. But this is my all-time favorite Stephen King book. It's just such a good book. Pretty much you're following the Torrance family as they go up to the Overlook Hotel to be the winter caretakers. Jack is a recovering alcoholic who has definitely been battling with some inner demons in his life through his father, and everything of the sort. His son, Danny, has got what is called the Shine, or the Shining, where he's got like a weird telepathic-ish ability. He doesn't have like telekinesis, but like he can see things that other people can't. And the Overlook Hotel is full of bad ghosts. And the other person he connects with is Dick Halloran, who also has got the Shine, which he got it from his grandma. I think it was his grandmother. I don't think it was his mother. But that's more explained in Dr. Sleep, the sequel to this book. But him and Dick have got this cool connection, and pretty much they get up to the hotel, they're isolated, and really bad cabin fever ensues. There's lots of differences between the Kubrick movie and this book. So if you're more of a fan of the Kubrick movie, you might not like this book. If you're more of a fan of this book, you might not like the Kubrick movie. I intend on doing a podcast episode just talking about The Shining. It'll probably be like 5 hours long, but whatever. But one of the biggest differences, I'll say, what makes this book better than the movie is the fact that you get a better sense of Jack's love for his family versus Jack Nicholson's portrayal. I'm one of those rare people that really enjoy both film and book. But this is by far, I think, one of King's best books. I know there's arguments for other books, but this is my number one book. So definitely worth the hype in my opinion. I know some other people who think otherwise, but this is a really good book, and I would definitely take a look at it. The Shining. Alright guys, so those are 6 popular books that I think are worth the hype. Obviously, I would say I probably got enough to do a second video like this. And probably one that's the opposite. Popular books that are not worth the hype and actually kind of suck. So maybe you'll see one of those. Make sure you let me know in the comments what are some popular books you have that are worth the hype. Let me know in the comments that are not any of these 6. Maybe you got some that differ from me. Or if you think these are not worth the hype, let me know. I'm up for the debate. But yeah, as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Later.